Hi, this is your favorite attorney, Vanessa Lombard from Legacy Law. And I actually wanted to take advantage of educating, right? So that's what I want to do with my clients. That's what I want my law firm to be about. So why not obviously educate that an estate plan is very important to have. But once you have it, okay, you also have to update it. There's changes in your life that happened every single year, and that's why it's so important to make sure that your plan is updated. So as you can see, this is my estate plan from back in 2017. So what we're going to do today is we're actually going to review it together. This is something that's very personal to me, but this estate plan is so outdated. Even though it's only 8 years old, it's so outdated that I'm going to revoke it entirely. This plan is no longer applicable and no longer works for me. And I am going to tell you the list of why. So I have a list here. This is just big picture of what I was looking at when I saw my plan. And now I definitely want to create a new plan with my husband, obviously for many reasons, but unfortunately, this plan did its purpose back in the day, but now it's no longer applicable. And that's why I want to make sure and emphasize that once you have a plan, you also have to update it. And this is why I want to emphasize that right now for my clients, my first clients of 2025 for my law firm, I will offer free updates. Feel free to call other law firms and ask how much it is to update your plan once you have one. Okay, because in 2022, this law firm that gave me a super good discount because they were friends of mine, they reached out back again in 2022 to update my plan, and the price was really high. So it was easier for me to just create a whole new plan. So that's why I didn't proceed with them. And I decided to do my own estate plan with my husband, especially because that's what I do. So it was easier for me to just, make sure that I have a new plan, a new trust that would take care of everything else that I have lived and have accomplished in my life. So let's get into it. The first thing is that this plan was made when Natalie was a minor. Okay, so she was minor and had guardians that she could choose from. She had 4 guardians that she could choose from if something were to happen to me. I was a single mother. She didn't have her father with her, so she would have gone in the system. If I didn't have a trust, she would have gone in the system until anyone in my family would fight for her in court to say that they could be the guardian for her. In addition to that, I had a really good life insurance policy, so I was afraid that whoever was going to fight for her was not going to fight with the right intentions. So that was very huge for me. Now she's 20 years old, so she can actually be my healthcare proxy. She could be under the HIPAA release list, and she could be my power of attorney. So now she can actually have some roles in my plan. I am married, so I am no longer single. So now I actually have a partner that will be part of my estate plan. So that's a big change. If you're married, if you get divorced, I have the twins, so I have minor children again, and I don't want anyone in this plan to be their guardian. I have new family now from my husband's family, and they have a very good core system. I really love their values, and we have already decided who would be their guardians if something were to happen to us. I no longer own 285 Oldham Street. I don't live there anymore. I sold that property, and I bought a new property with my husband. So now this property belongs to him as well. And it also belongs to Natalie. So then I have to account for Natalie to still have a place to live if something were to happen to me, and that my husband would not kick her out. So those are things you have to think about. And the beneficiaries have changed. The people who I wanted to inherit have changed. For instance, my grandmother was one of the beneficiaries that I wanted her to inherit, and she's no longer with us. So I know her share, she would have wanted it to go to somebody else. So I'm going to have to now make a decision of how I want that to be distributed. In addition to that, I'm not going to name anybody, but another family member of mine that's also going to be a beneficiary is receiving government benefits. That's very important because anyone that's receiving government benefits, depending on what they are, if it's Medicaid and all of that, or any type of aid from the government, if they inherit a large sum of money, they can no longer qualify for those benefits. So you want to be very careful, if someone is under this type of benefits where they will no longer receive them, and then they won't qualify. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a supplemental needs trust for this family member, so that way it will supplement whatever they're receiving, so they'll be able to have additional money to be able to use, and it won't be in their hands, so it really won't be theirs. Okay, so that's how you kind of do that. So you create a whole new trust. They won't have access to it. It'll be a trustee that would provide them funds as needed, as long as they are under the threshold for them to be able to still qualify for those government benefits. So that's very important to note that. I also have new beneficiaries. I have my husband, who I want to be taken care of, and I want the twins to have, their own share now that they're here. Another thing that I want for my children, my wishes have changed of how I want them to inherit. At first, I had in this trust that Natalie would inherit at the age of 25, because I thought, and that's typical, that's a typical age where they're done with college, they're ready for life, they may want to go to, get their master's or graduate school or whatever that is, or start a new business or buy a new house, right? So that's usually the best age where they're starting their life and they can use that money. However, I would like to create what's called a lifetime asset protection trust for each of my children. So all three are going to have 3 different trusts. And the reason for that is because I don't want them to have access to the money. I want them to be able to have this money at different ages and stages in their life. And the reason for that is because I don't want them to get a large sum of money and then go spend it all, or get married and then now it's community property with that new spouse, and then if they get divorced, they get half of it, right? So there's no way I'm going to allow that to happen. So I'm sorry for whoever's out there is going to marry my kids. You're not going to be able to access that money if I pass away. So that is how I want that to be addressed. And in addition to, not being available, that money not being available to spouses if they get divorced, it's also not available for creditors. If they file for bankruptcy, if they have a lawsuit, it's not available for creditors because it's not really their money. It's not in their bank account. Okay, it's something that's going to come in the future every 5-10 years, whatever it is. So they cannot say, oh, we're going to wait for that money to be dispersed, because it's not really their money. And that's how you protect your children from creditors, liabilities, spouses, divorces. So this is a really great thing to have if you have minor children. The other thing that I want is, if my husband gets remarried, congratulations. I'm very happy for you guys. But if there's no prenup when he gets married, that means that he will not have access to any of the trusts that the children's have. Okay, so they won't have access to any of the children's trusts, and he won't be able to take that money. So what that means is that she will not have access to that money. So unless there's a prenup where she says, I no longer, I don't want access to anything that he brought in terms of the trust, anything else after that they made together, then that's theirs. And they can do whatever they want with that, but they cannot touch any of the trusts that we created for our children and for their benefit. So that's another positive thing that you can add to your trust. in addition to that, now I have a business. I did have a landscaping business for 5 years when I had this trust. So there was a business then, but now I have legacy law. So I also have a successor attorney that will take over my firm and my clients if something were to happen to me. Because obviously my husband's not an attorney, and the trustees cannot serve as attorneys, but then I do have someone that's going to be able to handle my clients if something were to happen to me. So as you can see, that's big picture of everything that needed to be changed in this trust. So it's definitely something that I'm not going to use. I'm going to revoke it, and I'm going to create a whole new trust with my husband, which we're working on already. There's things that we're still debating and discussing. So I'm trying to get that set up so that you can see how challenging it can be when you have a trust, but you do not update it. So I had this, and it doesn't do anything for me now. It really does not. So I need a new trust. I need to get that going. And the reason why I'm waiting is because there's so many things I want to add to my trust to make sure that it works. And I'm happy to talk to you as well. If I don't know the answer, like I said, I have a whole bunch of other co-counsels that I partner with. I have other resources. I have people on speed dial. I'm very fortunate that a lot of people have been stepping up to help me. If there's any questions, there's always someone there to answer them for me. So I am very grateful for that. 5 years, almost 5 years as an attorney. So it's been amazing. It's an amazing trip that I've had, and I am happy that I'm going to be able to help my community and my friends and my family. So again, make sure that you book a session with me, because call around and just see, hey, estate planning attorney, if I create my trust with you and I have changes, can you let me know more or less what that fee would be? And then you can let me know, because it's expensive, and I've seen what other firms charge. That's why I'm doing this. I'm trying to make sure that you have a plan, but that it works when you need it. This one's not going to work. It's not going to do anything for me. So let me know if you want to touch base, and we can schedule a meeting so we can talk. All right? Bye, guys. Hope you learned something today. Blooper. She wanted to come and say hi, guys. Say hi. This is a dog-friendly office. We can have all of our puppies here. Yeah. All right. I gotta work. Mama has to work. All right. Bye.